I thought everything that is in the shelf is safe until I realized that there are all everywhere toxins. And this is my story also for Inosphoresis. My wish was I want to provide some safety for my children. I want them to get rid of the toxins.
You're right, it's everywhere. I would tell everyone, if you have a doctor, if you know someone that understands detoxification, going to them to help you learn this is so important.
So, first of all, a warm welcome from me to everyone. Thank you for braving the cold and the rain and, on your Saturday to join us here. This is a good example of what can happen if you have a small, tiny, spontaneous idea, and then it can turn into something really awesome. So it was exactly 4 weeks ago that that Christina told me that she would be in Munich tomorrow. And I said, well, why don't you come a day early and we'll meet in Berlin because there's a few people I really need you to meet. And she said, yes. And then Ted, who's somewhere back there, had to do a lot of reorganizing. Thank you for that. And so here we are to all learn about detox, biohacking, the secrets behind it. And with that, let's get started. So I'll actually quickly introduce myself so that it makes sense why I'm sitting here doing this. So my name is Kim-Lena Erhardt. I'm a journalist and coach by trade with a deep passion for connecting women and empowering women. So some of you might remember me as the executive producer of RTL Exclusive or head of news at Bild. All of that seems to be a very long time ago. 8 years ago, I moved to the US for love, and I had to reinvent myself several times over. Last year, I started a women's membership called the Hamptons Boss Moms to connect women in business, to empower them in business. And we also started in the fall a brand that's called Longevity, which is focused on women's health because no one is 25 anymore in this room. And I think we all notice that we have to start to take action, that we have to take care of ourselves, and that we have to become our own advocates. And so this is what today is about, to learn, to understand, to get to a point where we know what's out there and what we all can do for ourselves. So with that, welcome to a deep dive into biohacking and detox secret. So now we're going to introduce these two lovely ladies. I'm going to start with Dr. Birgit Heinisch-Röchert. The first time I met Birgit, I was already blown away by her passion for health, by her ideas, and by her determination to help people. We connected after, I think, about 30 seconds. I was there for an appointment, and I left with a pack of probiotics and a friend for life. This is 12 years ago, this October, actually. And since then, a lot has happened. One is that I'm going to say Birgit because it's a lot easier for me than say the whole long name. So since then, Birgit became the medical director of ELLANN. And let's dive into a little bit of what you did before. Birgit is a specialist in internal medicine with experience from her work at the university in Vienna for 10 years. And her expertise covers a wide range, including intensive care medicine and clinical pharmacology. Beyond conventional practices, she has expanded her knowledge in areas such as orthomolecular medicine and functional medicine. Birgit gives lectures and is still doing a lot of research. Birgit has 2 little gorgeous children, and ELLANN obviously is her 3rd child. And we will talk about detox. We will talk about Inosphoresis, now that I know how to pronounce that too. And I'm sure we'll all learn a lot about that. Welcome, Dr. Birgit Heinisch-Röchert. And yes, you can clap. And with that, a warm welcome to Dr. Christina Rahm.
Thank you.
Who at this point, I think, beat sleep time zones because she left Nashville, Tennessee yesterday afternoon and came pretty much straight here.
Yeah.
which really is interesting and awesome. So again, thank you for trusting me on this, on really coming here and trusting me and pulling this together and getting people in here to listen what you have to say. And I think you're welcome. So here comes Christina's introduction. So Christina is a mother, wife, artist, international scientific leader, spokesperson, author, and patent writer. She holds a master's in science as well as multiple doctorate degrees and postgraduate degrees in various areas of science and humanities. In 2020, she founded Root Wellness with her husband, Clay. Root products support the body to detox, cleanse, and focus all naturally. And I'm sure we're going to learn a lot about that. Dr. Rahm is mom to 4 grown children. She is a cancer survivor and fought Lyme disease early in her life. She's known for speaking from her heart with honesty, integrity, and down-to-earth wisdom, and I can attest to that. And again, thank you for trusting me that we're doing this today. A very well welcome,
Thank you.
Dr. Christina Rahm. So let's dive in. And the first word I want to look at is biohacking, because biohack is like one of those words that I hadn't even heard before last year. But then I think we all did biohacking, especially when you're German, because all our grandmas had these little tricks that we would use for fever or whatever. And I think that's probably the original biohack. At this time, it's become something, well, we're almost supposed to do. So what is biohacking and what makes it so important? Do you want to start?
Biohacking for me is, I'm a physician. Yeah. So biohacking for me is how I can help people, how I can help them to help themselves, how to help the body to regenerate and regulate himself. And there are there are for sure some hacks that you can easily install in your routine life. And I think it is very important to know some things about environment, to open the eyes, to raise awareness for chemicals, for different substances that are in our environment that we cannot avoid at all. Yeah, we all have contact with it and we cannot get out of it. And it's very important how to know where they are, what they are, how to maybe get them out again, and how to reduce them in your everyday life. So that's for me, in general, biohacking, I think. Yeah.
Well, and we'll get to the whole detox aspect of it for sure, because that's a really big biohack. Christina, what comes up for you if you talk biohack?
So in my career, I've done a lot with cloning and bioprinting and human monoclonal antibodies as a scientist with pharmaceutical and biotech companies. And I've seen different types of biohacking. I kept going back to, I really want to do things naturally, because the problem is when you biohack, like if you clone or if you do a human monoclonal antibody or different things like that, your body can reject it. Right. Mm-hmm. And your body will accept it for a while, but it's like putting an animal organ into a human being. We've done lots of studies on that. And eventually we will reject the heart because our body, even though we biohacked into it, doesn't know what to do. So I really went on a journey of trying to figure out how we could live to be 130 and how we could naturally biohack the system, because you're right. The environmental toxins are all around us. We can't ignore Agent Orange or nuclear waste. We can't ignore 5G or all the things that are innovation around us, but it's wonderful. But what people don't realize is that 5G and all of those chemicals, those make viruses, parasites, fungus, and bacteria mutate, right? So we have to be stronger. So what we really have to do is provide our system with natural things that can support us while we're detoxing and cleaning the inside of our body and the outside. And then support, because you really can go in and biohack and basically unclog, is the word I'll use, the pathways in our body so they work more synergetically so that we don't age as quickly. So it is a real thing. It's not a fictitious statement to say we can live to be 130. We can, but we've got to take care of our bodies. And this is, the outside of your skin is your largest organ. So you've got to start with even your clothing. That's one of the things I've worked a lot on, is trying to provide protective barriers for our body and our skin and the inside, but also get rid of the things we don't need. So we can do this, and we have to do this if we really want to look and feel and be younger. And you can say, well, it doesn't really matter if I look or feel younger, but the truth is your cells need to be strong and young in order for you to fight diseases and illnesses. So to me, it's not just a thing about beauty. And, you know, I'm 55 years old. I would love to keep looking younger, but I think what's even more important is that I live a healthy and successful, happy life. And so I think biohacking involves spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. You know, everything about us. You can't be a mother. I can't be a mother unless I'm mentally and emotionally clean inside. And that goes back to, of course, detoxification and really making sure that our bodies are okay.
So,
Totally, yeah.
of course, that does sound scary for a moment, right? Like, yes, the more we talk about the environmental toxins around us, the more terrified one tends to get. Because, yes, I mean, now the last thing I read was that the plastic bottles that we all suspected already to be not great, they have far more plastical and artificial elements in it than we would have thought. So what is like a first step that everyone here could do immediately to reduce the toxins that are around us?
Do you want to?
You can go.
Okay. Okay. So, if you ask my husband, he will say she's crazy. But so he learned to know a completely different person than I am now. Yeah. So my personal history is like, I was at a university clinic. I was not sleeping. I was smoking. I was eating out of plastic boxes all the time. I was asking how many calories and how fast it is done in the microwave oven. Yeah. So, I did night shifts. I was really having a very unhealthy life. And when I got my children, when I was pregnant, I still was very naive, yeah, and didn't think a lot about it because I thought everything is safe, everything is fine. Let's sleep a little bit more. Yeah, it changed completely when I realized and my eyes were open what already babies get ingested by water. Yeah, if you have to give them formula, even if you're breastfeeding, yeah, the toxins get out of the milk. So the first detoxification is when you are breastfeeding, actually, yeah, because toxins are lipid bound and milk is lipid. So, and when you start to think about that even the biggest treasure that you have in your life, your children, are already poisoned at the beginning when they see the first light of the world, you really start thinking about it. And then I also had a personal story of disease. Luckily, it was not cancer. It was after medical procedure, but it was very new to me and I could not work for a while, and it changed my mind again very much. And I took a closer look to everything that maybe had done harm to me or that maybe cause some diseases. And so my real life, my routine life starts in the morning to open the windows, like 10 minutes. The windows of my children's room, at first, yeah, because I want my children to be safe, yeah. So ventilate the rooms. We changed the water. We changed clothes to some point. I changed shampoos. I changed, I think everything. When I tell my husband, I just go and have to buy some sunscreen. Then I'm out for like 1 or 2 hours because I'm checking everything, yeah, and every little ingredient. And I didn't do that before because I was not aware, because I thought everything that is in the shelf is safe and you can use everything without any problem, until I realized that there are everywhere toxins and they are analyzed for this short-term effect, but absolutely not for a long-term effect. And when you dive into this subject, and I stumbled over studies, and it's blew my mind. And I almost got depressed because I've seen, oh my God, how many failures did you do? And I had the idea to change everything, to do it better, to try to compensate. And this is my story also for Inosphoresis. My wish was, I want to provide some safety for my children. I want them to get rid of the toxins. And the fun fact is that this was the first time that I stumbled over root. Yeah. And so it was really, when Kim told me that you are coming, I was like, I know it. And I think it's so important, not only for the children, also for you yourself, because you as a mother, as a father, you want to be there for your children as long as possible. Yeah, I'm sure also your children are asking you, please don't die. Yeah, please do everything not to die. I want to have you here. Yeah, and this is really a lesson, and this is very important. And this is my work to do. Yeah, my vision, exactly. This is my vision.
Mission.
Yeah. Exactly.
It probably always takes something to get us into this moment to really do something about it.
Totally.
So, and you have the ability to know a lot about it. Christina, you started researching also due to personal experiences and personal issues.
Yeah. My oldest son just turned 28. I almost start crying when I talk about him still, but, he was a twin and I had cancer while I was pregnant. I was a scientist. I was in school. I've stayed in school my whole life. I just keep going back to school in the United States and other countries. So at the age of 24 and 25, when all of this started happening to me, I kept researching. I had Lyme's disease. I was looking into all these different things. And then I was raised on a farm, and I realized when I was little, I knew this, but there were always pesticides flying over and spraying on us. We were always in the fields. We played in it. We didn't even think about it. So the more I started looking into it, at the time, I was a lot younger than I am now, but I realized that through the research, the World Health Organization, all your universities, they don't deny the fact that we have these environmental toxins, right? And I realized that 30 to 80% of the heavy metals and the toxins in this world are passed to the baby in the mother's stomach. And I was shocked. It was such a awakening for me to realize that I had actually probably been one of the reasons that I lost a child and had another son that was born that was sick. And then I ended up with a brain tumor and a spinal tumor. It spread and metastasized throughout my body. And I realized this is supposed to be my mission. The only reason I'm here is to help people, and I need to help other mothers. Because what I realized, and it really hit me, is no one knows about this. I'm not saying that people are hiding it, but we didn't have knowledge. And I started thinking other mothers have no idea what's going on. And I want to say this to everyone. I've worked in 89 countries. I'm asked to speak all over and to meet prime ministers and presidents. So if this wasn't a fact, would they want to meet with me? The answer is no. They want to meet because they want to live longer. They want to detox the land, air, and water, even though maybe a lot of our countries have not taken care of getting rid of the heavy metals in the land, air, and water. They still want help personally. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it really went full on during COVID because of the fact that all these people wanted help. Whether they decided to be vaccinated or not, it didn't matter. They needed help. They wanted natural things that could help them and not just synthetics or prescriptions. And so it really hit me. This was such an important factor. In 2015, I wrote a series of patents to detox the land, air, and water from nuclear waste, from GMOs and heavy metals. I also got approved for reversal of aging and regeneration of the hair, skin, and nails. Why did the formulas that detoxed reverse aging and regenerate our bodies? Because these toxins are killing us. A long time ago, people could live to be very, very old, right? But innovation has caused all these things around us, even the food we eat. The fish, like I met with the head of the environment for France, and the fish in the water, they know there's plastics in the fish that then go into our bloodstream. So how do we detox that? And that caused me to make a series of formulations, from a clothing line that detoxes to baby blankets. So when they leave, like you said, when you're leaving the hospital, to protect them, because it's everywhere. And I still don't want people to be scared. I want us to work together to realize no one's going to fix this for us. The governments don't have the money to detox everything. So this is a personal thing. And I'm like you, I've been in the lab and been a scientist a lot of my life. So I went through making a series of formulations that could help with detoxification and then anti-aging and reversal of aging. I can't claim all those things, especially Germany is one of our hardest countries. We're in 76 countries. This is one of the hardest places for us to talk a lot about it. But I will say, I can, for a fact, tell you guys the truth that these patents, 168 claims surrounding detoxification of heavy metals in the environment were approved. And then I went on to do additional patents. The reason I did that is, as a female, I'm just being honest. You can be a male and do a series of companies and do a series of patents and no one questions it. For me, going back to school was really important. For me, doing numerous things and documenting it and getting accreditation was so important so that we could be on this journey together. And again, this goes back to what is our reason on life and for being here. And as mothers or daughters or wives or friends, I think we deserve to have the best life possible. I think we each deserve to look and feel the best that we can. So probably the most important product I made in the beginning was a product called Clean Slate. I also have a similar product that works for the land, air, and water, but I was like you. I changed all the water, like even our pool at our house has filters in it. My husband is a fanatic about detoxification. I wish he were here. He's actually in the tarmac in Paris, I think Ted said, but Ted and Clayton and I are partners, and the three of us really set on a mission to help the world understand detoxification and cleaning out the inside of the body. We even came up with a word called zoded because we feel like detox is backwards. Like I feel like personally, when you detox something, you need to also supplement your body, right? Fill that void with something positive. And that's what we all have to do with our own bodies. And whether it's products I've worked on or other products, it is a mission I tell people you have to do every day, because this body, like no matter what country I go to, I leave my house, I stay in a different hotel, but I take this with me, right? This body, this house. And so everyone has really got to work personally. And then we can create the change for our children and our husbands and our families. But I think we can't ignore it anymore. This is not something like when I've worked on a lot of things in my career. So when all of this happened to our world in 2020, I was not shocked. I'm just letting you guys know, since my 20s, I've heard about this, so I was not shocked. And it's not, in my opinion, just a series of things that happened in another country. It's also a series of the fact that when you go into the environment, it ignites the mutation in things. So we've got to take care of our bodies so we biohack and are stronger. They use the word mutation for a virus. I use the word biohack for us. We've got to be stronger and evolve, and we can. We're human beings. We are the strongest of any species. So for us to just sit here and not make changes and be intelligent or have money or have the ability to make the change, to me, there's not an excuse. You've got children. I've got children. Whether you have parents or friends or people around you, we have to understand it's not just a scientist that can do this. We can each do it with our own bodies. But it takes a lot of work. You're right. You have to make a lot of changes. Yes. It's not a one-day thing or a one-time appointment with you. It's a lot of working on yourself. And I tell people this all the time. We have different houses. My husband and I like to travel and do different things. And we decorate the houses. We do interior design. You've got to decorate your body. You've got to clean out and just really make the changes. I wish there were doctors like you all over the world. There's not a lot of doctors that truly understand what to do and the steps to make. And again, it's not a one-time appointment. It's a constantly working on yourself so that you can become the best version of yourself.
I think the problem is that many doctors are not aware of that. If you talk to them, they are like, oh, I don't know. And they also don't want to know.
No, if they researched it, they would know. Like if you if you're a scientist and you're in a PhD program, like let's pick Oxford or Harvard, and the topic comes up, they talk about it. But in medical school, it's not a typical discussion at all. So I think you're right. A lot of them don't know. And then when they do learn, it's overwhelming, to be honest. Like I have to stop myself every day and say, I'm not going to be overwhelmed. I'm going to make these steps so that I can make these changes and then just keep trying to do it. But you're right. Unfortunately, they aren't looking into it though, because if they did, they would see all the information that's out there. And,
of course.
And I think your governments don't know what to do about it because it's so much. You know what I mean? It's really they want to take care of their own families, but to spend the money to take care of the world is another matter, which is why we have to do it ourselves.
So obviously we heard a little bit about the enosphoresis before we started this officially, but because that is, if we talk about ways to get heavy metals and toxins out, the enosphoresis obviously is a gigantic, amazing tool for it, but it's not that well known yet. I mean, I talked to my dad about it and he was like, well, they've been doing that since the 30s and it's like really dangerous. I was like, okay, that's why we're not talking about that. So could you tell us a little bit about what is happening with the enosphoresis? Where is the perk in it? What is, yeah.
Actually, your father is definitely not right because the precursor of apheresis is bloodletting. And already the Egyptians did it. Already the traditional Chinese medicine, they did it. Yeah. So this was the beginning. And apheresis is known at university clinics since decades, and also hemodialysis. And enosphoresis is just something that was brought to free medicine. Let's call it like that. Yeah. So not especially university clinic, you can bring it to your practice. And Dr. Straube and Mrs. Bach, they are also my mentors, and I learned a lot from them. And they brought it to the free medicine. They modified filters for the machine, and they made it. They made it accessible for everyone, for every patient, also for prevention because of environmental toxins, but also for autoimmune disease, for neurological disease, for arthritis. So there are so many indications for it. Enosphoresis is a very elegant and a very innovative procedure. It takes about 2 or 3 hours. It depends on your height, on your weight. And we just to explain it simply, blood from the vein from one arm flows into the first filter. There is distinguished between blood components and plasma. The plasma flows to the second filter, which is made out of a modified biological material, and it has different Sieve coefficients. And the plasma gets cleaned from toxins, from dysregulated autoantibodies, from pesticides, herbicides, from everything that should not be in your body. Yeah, and it can distinguish because of form, of weight, of the size of the molecule. And then the cleaned blood gets back to the other vein of the arm. And so this is not all that it does. Yeah, the eluate, this is these are the toxins that we throw away and that we analyzed before. But also weeks after enosphoresis, there is something like a late mobilization. So by osmosis, the concentration of toxins is different after enosphoresis because it's taken out, out of the blood. So the concentration molecules tend to go from the place of high concentration to the place of low concentration. And so it does also our body. Yeah. So we really clean from the blood into the cell and also in between the cells, from the tissue. And this is a procedure that can clean organs, that can clean the brain. And there is no danger of the brain barrier. Yeah, so that something is mobilized and gets again to the brain and is harmful. So it's a very elegant method to bring out proteins and toxins, as I said, so exogenous but also endogenous substances that are harmful for us and that are triggers for development of many diseases. Yeah, it can be autoimmune disease, it can be dementia. How many people are suffering from dementia? And so many, but they don't know that it is associated also with heavy metals. Yeah, with inflammation. We can also decrease inflammation. We can decrease viral load of viral diseases. There is so much you can do. And I think it's very important that people from everywhere can or do have access to that. Yeah.
So now I already know, because I heard it earlier, it's like, well, if I live super healthy, if I'm vegan, I don't need that, right? And I also saw your face at that, because you're like, nope, you still will. So what do you say to that? If you already try to be as healthy as possible, is there still a benefit?
Even if you're eating only organic food, and I'm sure that nobody of us is only eating organic because we are all eating at a restaurant, at a hotel, we are traveling. So we cannot avoid it at all. Yeah. To eat something, yeah, that is sprayed, for instance. Yeah. And even if we are eating organic food that comes from Spain, it's sprayed with something. Yeah. Just because of the transport. So, independent from our own age, independent from what we are eating, we need detoxification because our body detoxifies all the time. Every single second, it works on that. And our enzymes are super, super busy. But we know that we have 15 million chemicals in this world. And many of them we cannot even measure. And then there are around 3,000 that are very important for us in our routine life, and we cannot avoid them. That's simply we are not able to do that. And the problem is that our enzymes, so many people have variations in these enzymes. So 20 to even 90% of people have variations so that the enzymes don't work well. And detoxification is not as good as it should be. And we have problems with new chemicals and with new toxins, and we cannot adapt so fast that we can detox everything. Yeah, so there are many problems, and independent from age, independent from lifestyle. I mean, of course, if someone has a not so healthy lifestyle, even more. Yeah, but even if you're eating organic, if you are trying to move yourself, to be healthy, to eat healthy, you need detoxification.
Well, another part of clothes, you mentioned it before, and I think that's we all start out and buy clothes from chains that produce in China or wherever, and it goes on. So, and that is something you, Christina, looked into a lot. So how much toxins do we actually add to our system due to our clothes?
We add a lot because of our clothes. The textile industry is one of the most toxic industries that we have. The pollution goes into the air. We put it on our skin. It's not good for us. And the problem is, I've spent a lot of time, for example, in Chernobyl and Ukraine, Hiroshima, working on different projects that have to do with nuclear waste. And so you could have a HAZVAC system on, and go in, but still, what do you put on your skin that helps protect you every day? Because we're not going to go out into the world and wear this huge garb, it's not going to work. So, we do a 96-hour process where with the clothing that we make at Mercy Dupree Clothing Airs, which is sold at Root, and it's also sold on its own site, but it goes in and basically protects the body through different barriers. I used different types of natural nanobiotechnology. My postdoc from Harvard was nanobiotechnology because I was trying to figure out how to get rid of the nuclear waste and how to get rid of the GMOs and all the pollution. And the only way I could do that is really study how it got here. And so you're an nanobiotechnologist, made the nuclear bomb. It's a mixture of bioscience engineering, quantum physics, and you've got very smart people. But a lot of the things they invented, like the GMOs in food, are what are hurting us, or the different machinery that they worked on, or the different chemicals. And the clothing was really important to me, especially for babies. We were doing a project in Saudi Arabia, and they were interested in the baby blankets. So we launched it here first. We actually have sold out twice. We had a spray that you spray on it after every 4 to 7 washes so that it locks in the shungite and the different materials, silver ions, iodine, hypochloric acid. There's a lot of stuff that's embedded in the clothes. You can't tell, like this outfit. I actually wore this specifically because this is one of our outfits that has the clothing where it's embedded in the clothing to protect. And we have a meeting tonight, and I wanted to make sure I wore something that they knew does that. Now, if you ask me, does everything I wear have that? No, because I haven't gotten to that point yet. We launched this though, especially for mothers and women. We did this. If you ever looked our company up or me online, it looks like I do fashion for a living. And that's not what I do for a living. I'm a fashion engineer because I'm an engineer, a scientist, but I'm not a designer. But I teamed with different designers because the great thing is they are interested in producing this type of clothing. We're even working on a type of pants. I've been working on it for the last few weeks, actually, that you can plant in the ground and actually will produce, once you plant the pants, then they will produce products like seeds and plants. So we're trying to finalize that. There's one other company I met in Milan that's been working on it, and it's something I'm very interested in because I want things to be sustainable and biodegradable. But this goes back, I just want to say what you said about vegans. I used to be a vegan. When I had the brain tumor and the spinal tumor and I didn't know if I was going to live, I became a vegan, and I was very serious about it. The problem with people that are vegans is what you said. The plants, or the parents of the plants, a lot of them have been exposed to pesticides or to different things like GMOs. So even though it says organic, that doesn't always mean that it's healthy for people. And I say this, I use this example. One time I was in Malaysia and I was working there, and I was sitting at a restaurant at the end of the pier, and they brought fish to us. And I noticed that all these houses around this restaurant had things were going from the house into the water. So I go to the bathroom in the restaurant and I notice there's a hole that goes into the water where people were using the bathroom, and then they were serving the fish. So I say this all the time. That was and they served it as organic fish. Huh. And I said,
it's really organic.
Do you know what I'm saying?
It's really organic.
So I'm like, if it's from a sewage, that doesn't mean you should eat it. So if it's organic, it doesn't mean it hasn't been touched by things, is the problem. And I love being a vegan. I've done it a couple of times in my life, and I really feel great. But the issue, again, is you are still exposed. So what you're doing to help people by taking their exomes and taking the different enzymes and cleaning them and the peptides is so important. It really, really is important. Like the stuff I do and the products I work on, I always say this is a start. This is not a finish. This is part of what needs to happen when you're trying to really have the best life possible. And the clothing, again, I think is something important. The issue was we wanted to launch something that looked great, which is why there's so many pictures of it. We wanted it to be fashionable so we could touch women like you all that could then impact other people. Because I really believe if you can impact people that have influence here, they can influence people all over the world, not just in their small circle, but everywhere. And this, again, is an issue that we all have to adhere to. We all have to approach. We have to solve together. It's not one scientist, one doctor. We all have to work together. And a lot of times mothers will come to me and say, I'll give you an example. One of my best friends is a mother. She's never worked. She's an amazing person, and you would love her. She's just fantastic. She texted me about the plastic and the microplastic, and can I please come up with something that can help with that? And I said, I actually have. We haven't launched it yet. You can't do everything at once, like you said, and it can become overwhelming. But this is something that we do need to do. And it involves our clothes and our skin. Everything that touches your skin goes inside your body. So it does your skincare, your makeup, your clothing, it affects you. So even if you live this perfect life and you don't read the label, like your sunscreen's like you said, one of your worse things for your skin, but yet it says it's trying to protect your children. It's hurting your children at the same time, just like fluoride in the teeth, right? So anyway, not to get off on that tangent, but you know how I feel about all of it. She set up a meeting in the Hamptons with some prominent doctors, and we discussed it as well, because your really prominent doctors are starting to really step in and have a voice on this.
Which I think is highly important, and to lift the whole thing, because at this point, everybody's probably like, wow, what are we going to do when we go home? So what can we do in like little steps, considering we're conscious of the situation, but probably not fully aware that changes right now. So what are steps that each of us could really do to start taking care of us better, to keep our children safe? Because yes, that is obviously one of the most important things, because if I think back when I was a child to compare what my sons are now exposed to, that's very different. And I'm not that old. So a lot has changed. So what are like the first 3 things that you would recommend to our audience, to all of us, that can start us on this journey?
It's difficult. Just 3?
I'll make it 5. Well, why don't you just start? Let's see.
Okay. So for me, it's the most important is to start at home. As I said, open the windows as often as possible. Vacuum clean. All the chemicals and also heavy metals are in the dust. Yeah. So it's really poisoning. Throw out your copier. Your copier is producing like billions of heavy metals, of toxins, of chemicals in the air, directly into the air. If you are printing even 1 page, yeah, throw it out. For instance, if I buy vegetables or fruits, I put it in water, like 20 minutes, then 90% of toxins are gone. Yeah. I only buy organic, as I said. I try to buy local organic. I don't use toothpaste with fluoride. I keep up with micronutrients also for my children. They get their supplements every morning. And I never forget. But if I'm stressed, then they are like, Mama, where is our orange juice? And this is very, very important to do also detoxification every day. Yeah. Take a look at your car. There are plasticizers. There is dust. Take a look at your Wi-Fi. Switch it off during the night, at least. Yeah. There is EMF. And we cannot ignore this either. There is 5G. If you take a look at your goodie bags afterwards, we have a small present for you. It's from our friend and supporter, Harry Roos. He's a very, very special person. He's great. He's really doing amazing work, and it has convinced me. He's doing a lot of studies. He has a lot of data about 5G, about EMF, and all those small things. Yeah, drink filtered water. I think in Germany, most places are very good, much better than in US.
Oh yeah.
I read that even rain in US contains PFAS.
It does.
Rain. Yeah. So, worst case scenario, when I'm telling my husband we have to do more, he says, yeah, but what do you want to do? Even if you grow your vegetables at home, there is rain that's coming from above. Yeah. So it is limited. Yeah.
Well, but all those are good starting.
Also clothes. Today, I'm not a good example. Yeah. But usually I try. Usually I try to, especially things that are on the skin. Yeah. Like underwear, tights, t-shirts, especially also for my children. They are organic. And even organic clothes have tags inside, which are bleached. Take a look at your cosmetics. They are full of heavy metals. They are full of aluminum. Yeah, they are full of chemicals, and also organic cosmetics. Take a look. Aluminum, you will find it. Yeah, titanium dioxide, you will find it. It's really a big problem.
But we're giving advice now. We're like, let's try to live.
There are some apps you can download them and just screen it. Yeah, there is a code on every product, and that's what I do, because I mean it's written very. I cannot read it, yeah, but then you have all the ingredients and it's really, really perfect. And then I need 1 hour to find a new cream. I mean, but it's really like that. We have an infrared spectroscope and I can measure my heavy metal load in my tissue. And I measured high levels of silver. And I was thinking, why do I have silver? And it increased and it increased and it increased. And I have some creams that I'm using since months or even years. And I had to buy a new cream, my new old cream. And I scanned it and I found there is silver inside. Yeah. And I mean, I think they have changed ingredients and there was silver. So it was clear for me. And it is an organic cream. Yeah. Okay. I threw it away. Yeah. And I didn't buy it anymore. But you have to be really, take your time, take a look at what you are consuming, where it comes from and what is inside. Because as I said before, even if it's in our shelf, it's not regulated enough. It's even better regulated than in US.
By far.
But, but
huge difference.
Still, you have to be your own advocate. Yeah. And you have to take the responsibility for yourself and for your children, and you have to try your best. And I don't want to stir up fear. We can do something against it, but you have to be aware that you have to do something. Yeah. And there are things that we can do. Yeah.
Christina, what would be your fast list?
So, it's interesting. 76 countries, Germany's our number one market. My grandfather's from Germany. A lot of people know that. My last name, you may recognize it. But I can tell you that because of my German background and the scientist in my family and how I was raised, this has been something I've researched for a long time. And then when I got cancer, I researched it even more. And then throughout my career. So there's some products that we have that you can put into water. Children can take it. We can't claim to detoxify in the country of Germany. This is the only country that we cannot say that. I always use the word Zodib, which is detox backwards, because I say we are cleaning and eradicating while we're supporting to get rid of the things in the body, because I'm like you can't get rid of it. It's around you. It's in the things that you've worked on. We actually had a skincare line. We are sold out right now. We've sold out a couple of times because it's helped people and they love it, but we will have it in again soon. And that was one of my reasons, is because all the skincare I was using had all these ingredients in it that were actually hurting my body. So we used, I used a phytoplankton that's only found in one place. And then I detox or clean in the lab all the ingredients, even the seeds and the plants. Like we have a greens where we even trace the parent plants to make sure it didn't have GMOs. We do that because we know that you can't fix everything, but you can at least have certain staples. And I think we brought samples of the Trinity. Is that what we brought?
I think clean slate, right, Ted?
Ted, did we bring the Trinity?
There's a clean slate, clean slate, a sample of Restore, and a sample of Zero In.
Perfect. So the Trinity was the first thing we launched, and that was basically to detox twice a day. You use 1 or 2 drops in the morning. You can put it in water, or in your mouth. But you have to drink lots of water, and using that with like a different device that you're doing would really help even more. But I can't give that to everyone because not everyone has the money or the ability to go to a clinic like yours where they can do it. Do you know what I mean? But I always say if you can go to a detox clinic while you're doing clean slate, it's even better. But this program has helped so many people with everything that's gone on throughout the world and their children. We've been able to really impact, without claiming we cure things, we've been able to impact autism dementia, different things that have helped people because they're just naturally getting rid of things. And I used a zeolite base, but I basically pulled out the silica and used different formulations so that it would go into the body without negatively leaving anything in the brain, because you have to worry about the brain barrier and implanting things there. But it naturally leaves the system when you sweat, when you use the bathroom, during the day. It takes about 2 to 4 weeks to notice a difference. Some people have more energy. Some people that are hugely toxic and have been around a lot of toxins and don't know it, and I'm sure you've seen this in your career and in your patients, they get worse at first before they get better. And I say all the time, this is something that I wanted something safe that people could use, that they wouldn't overuse. You can't drink a bottle. Of course, you can only go up to 10 drops, but I wanted something that could safely help people get down this path that would give them a daily solution for their own lives and for their children. I've had so much cancer in my life because once it metastasized to my body, I've had cancer ever since I was 25. And so this is something that helps me every day. When I get skin cancer, I put it on there. I can't say to tell other people to do that, but I really know that a lot of the pathology of why I've had illnesses is because I've been exposed to so many toxins. So I try constantly to do that. And then another product that's in your bag is called Restore, to help restore the cells to something that's pure without any GMOs or anything that's not natural added. And then Zero In, which I take daily. Do you take it? Every morning.
I do.
I wanted to impact the neurotransmitters because you know this, when the heavy metals go into the brain. We know now that dementia and Alzheimer's and Parkinson and ALS, all these heart and brain issues that are happening more and more and more. It is crazy how bad it's gotten. So you've really got to support your brain cognitively. It's interesting. I started that product for sexual health for women. And then I went into the studies because I had worked at Pfizer on Viagra, and I wanted something for women. But I wanted it to be natural because you're always talking about men. But I'm like, well, when women go through different changes with menopause and after you have children, your sex drive changes. But what we noticed when I kept adding certain ingredients to this that we were sourcing from Africa and India and from all over, I was able to find that it actually impacted the cognitive functioning by clearing the different pathways and enzymes throughout the body. That's important because, again, I feel like even if you look beautiful, if you're not happy, if you don't feel on target, then your life's not as good. And the goal is, all of us are so different. Each person's so beautiful. I always say this, we're each imperfect pieces to a perfect puzzle, but we got to take care of our bodies. Those are my first 3 steps, but I'm like you. I go back to, there's 100 steps I take. And then once you get used to it, though, that's how you live. Do you know what I mean? So once you're used to opening the like when you say open the windows, I don't know if you guys know this, but the air inside your house and buildings is actually worse than going outside. Your COPD and your asthma and all the issues that are happening throughout the world, they're tracing that back to indoor air.
There is formaldehyde in the furniture, flame retardants. It's everywhere.
It's in your clothes. I mean, it's everywhere. So you're in your house and all of the furniture, and I hate to say that, but you're right, it's everywhere. So I think the steps, like I can tell you, I get on a plane, I'm a 360 member with Delta, and that means I just fly constantly. And so I'm always on a plane. And when I'm on a plane, you're surrounded by these chemtrails and these heavy metals, the EMFs that no one wants to talk about, and the 5G that no one wants to talk about. They're all around you. You can't ignore it. So taking stuff that I can actually do and take with me helps me. Because I know that my body's being bombarded. And I know there's lots of other solutions out there, but I would tell everyone, if they have the money, you should make the time. And if you have the money, going to a clinic that helps you. And I say this all the time. If you have a doctor, if you know someone that understands detoxification, going to them to help you learn this is so important. And in most places in the world, there aren't doctors that can do this. So this is one thing I will say about Germany. I feel like the science advancements in this country are phenomenal. My grandfather was 8 years old when he went over to the United States, an extremely intelligent man. And I feel like, there's a huge intelligence in this country that should not be overlooked. It's highly here that you don't have as much in other countries, which is why I do think there's a lot of regulation. I think sometimes there's a lot of control that's hard to manage too.
We also like our regulation.
I see both sides of it, but I do think there's things you guys can do daily. I think that it's simple steps that you implement into your life, but I do think there's things you have to put inside and outside your body so you can make sure that you look and feel the best.
So before I open this up, because I'm sure there's going to be questions, if I'm looking for a doctor, because the overwhelm, I think, is real for all of us too. So what are questions I should ask? What am I looking for if I'm looking for a doctor that can help me, that can teach me and actually look beyond what the normal blood panel will probably show? How do I go about that to actually find the person who's able to help me if I'm not as lucky to live down the street from you?
It's hard.
I think it's difficult because you never know until you try. So it can be good luck or bad luck.
Yeah, and so I will say that. So she's got a background and I'm not to talk, but you have a background in medical school, then functional, then integrated. If you can find a doctor that has all of that, like that's me. I'm traditional. Most of my life was traditional medicine and science, but then I'm like you, because of my children, I found this path of, wait, this isn't enough. And this isn't fair that mothers and women and men don't know the truth about what's going on. But if you ask me how many people I've met in my career that have taken that whole route, I mean, you're one of the few people I've met, because it's just it's not taught in school.
Exactly. And I'm shaped from university. I was teaching at university. I was giving lectures there. I was a scientist there. I'm shaped from studies, from conducting studies, from publishing and from writing and from just evidence. And so also inospheresis, for me, it's so important. Everything I do has to be evidence-based. Yeah. And there are studies for everything. If you open your eye and take a look, you find it. Yeah. Also for EMF, also for heavy metals. I mean, to be honest, we all know the hemochromatose is the name of the liver storage disease. Yeah. And we treated it at university clinic. And also copper storage disease. It's Wilson's disease. Yeah. We treated it at the university clinic. These are also heavy metals or metals. Yeah. So why do we ignore mercury? Why do we ignore lead? They are also around us. They are ubiquitous. Yeah. So we have it everywhere. And for me, the important thing is to combine both. Yeah. So evidence and data. And for instance, inospheresis has 500,000 data. We know very well what the machine does. I know it's reproducible for every patient. I know exactly what happens. And this is something that's really important for me. You have to know what you do and you have to be sure that it works. And even more important, that it doesn't do harm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there are, of course, people who do it differently. And you never know until you see it.
Yeah. You have to have a doctor that really cares about each person that they meet with. And the issue is if their heart and their mind isn't there and they haven't researched things, and they just don't know. We have the International Science Nutrition Society, but we don't have a head of detoxification. And if you ask me why, we don't have a doctor right now in that organization that knows that area enough. Because again, you were at a university like I was. And so you kept reading the research, and that's what I did. But you really have to find a combination. There's not like a network that right now that shows you who to go to.
No.
There's not.
So it's questions. It's a gut feeling, probably. If I feel rushed in an appointment, I'm already at the wrong place.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you can ask them the questions like what we talked about today, if they don't know the answers to that and they don't understand what we're talking about, then they haven't spent time on it. They're not an expert in that area.
Ladies, thank you. I will end my questions here. We could do this a lot longer, I'm sure, but I also would like to open the floor to questions because I'm sure that some of you might have something come up. So please feel free and take advantage of these two experts here.
Alexandra.
Yes, I have one question. Since mankind exists, there have been changes. And don't you think that every human being or even every animal has the possibility to adapt, and it is necessary to adapt because things are changing, the surroundings are changing. And until a certain degree, it should be possible even to adapt, I don't know, a certain amount of poison and so on. Don't you think it's a bit exaggerated to look on every single step you do, what you breathe, which you cannot influence, and you get crazy after a while?
I think most important that you don't get crazy. Yeah, we are still living and we have to enjoy life. Yeah, and of course we shall also drink. If you want to drink 1 glass of alcohol, yeah, if you are partying, and you shall go partying and the air inside is also not good. Okay. But what we want is to stay healthy. Yeah. So I want to compensate. Yeah. And of course, as I said before, that's evolution. We are adapting, but finding new chemicals and new molecules and bringing it into the environment, it's too fast for our body to adopt. So in the next generations, maybe the children of my children, I'm sure they can metabolize plastic and they can do something out of it, and it's absolutely no problem anymore. But for us now, it is. Yeah, so we are just one generation. It's one body, and we cannot change our genes. We just can change the epigenetics. So the genes are the bullet, and the epigenetics are pulling the trigger. Yeah, so, the genes are not fast enough. And that's why we have to support them. We have to support our health. Yeah.
Yeah.
Christina?
Yeah, we've never had, in our history, we've never had so much cancer. 1 out of every 7 boys in some countries will be born with autism now. If you ask me why, it's documented. It's heavy metals. They think there's a genetic component, but I agree with you. Our bodies just haven't adapted. And like when something triggers a mutation of viruses, bacteria, fungus, and parasites. So I don't know if you guys know this, you probably do, but when the virus happened and the mutations, so did bacteria and fungus. So we have 17 different types of fungus we've never seen before. Do you know what I mean? That just mutated. So we are adapting, but we've just got to be smarter and put some things in place. I will say this. I work about 70 to 80 hours a week. I have 4 children. I have friends. I travel. I have a good life. So it doesn't consume me. Like if I want to have a glass or 2 of wine or a margarita, I have it. If I go inside, I don't worry constantly about the chair I'm sitting on or the clothes I'm wearing. Like these boots, if I want to buy them because I love the brand, I still buy them. But I try to do things like what you're doing to help people get rid of the toxins and then supplement because you're cleaning it, right? And then bringing back in healthy things into the body so it works. I try to do things like that. Even with the infrared saunas, I just implement different things into my life and the products. So I'm doing something about it. But for me, I think it was an emergency because I almost died. Like I was told you have a brain tumor, a spinal tumor. We don't know if you're going to make it. And I wanted to raise my son. And so for me, this became a mission. And then when it became a mission, I realized this isn't fair that other women that have children that are sick or that have gone through this don't know this. But I do think we are adapting. I agree with you. I think we will be able to handle this better once we overcome what we're going through. But I think it's going to be a continuous thing. Like when 5G came into play, 5G actually can cause heavy metals to activate even more in the body. We weren't anticipating completely as a species 5G, even though our scientists worked on it. So you've just got to try to get rid of that and protect your body. But it can become overwhelming, and it's something I don't want people to be overwhelmed. And I hope that I haven't overwhelmed people because I think there's small steps people can take that will make a huge difference in their life.
I think we have to stay calm. Yeah. But what I see in the practice, and when I came out of university clinic, I had the first patients who I could not treat with medication because there was no medication. And as we say now, and Dr. Straube and Mrs. Bach, they wrote a book about it and they named it and they nailed it. Yeah, it's sub-health. Yeah, sub-health syndrome. And this is what many people suffer from. And if people come here who have dementia, who say, I cannot think like I could before, or I cannot walk anymore, or whatever, and we do inosphoresis, and they are much more better afterwards, there has to be a reason. And as I also said before, it depends on your genetic equipment, on your susceptibility, and on your exposure. Yeah. So if someone doesn't have exposure or less exposure and has good genes, good enzymatic function, he will suffer less. But there are people who have not such a good genetic equipment and they have a lot of exposure. And then you need to help them. And with what? Yeah. And this was the question I was asking myself. And then we found this key, actually, yeah, to get rid of many things that are harmful. Yeah.
Some people react a lot worse to heavy metals and to toxins, and some people have adapted better. Like, I don't think my family, we're predisposed to cancer, and we genetically have Alzheimer's, cancer, cardiovascular disease. Unfortunately, that's the genetics that I have and the gene coding. So I have to work really hard, to make sure that I can, I want to live. I don't know if I want to live to be 100. I mean, I have to be honest. I can't foresee my life, but I know I want to live to see my grandchildren, and I want to help women while I'm doing it. I ended up, you have to choose your passions in life. And I love men. I always say this. I have 3 wonderful sons and a daughter, amazing father, grandparents, grandfathers, but I wanted to empower women. So really one of the things I focused on is talking to women, so that they can then educate the other women and men around them. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but women make 70% or more of the healthcare decisions in life.
Of course.
I mean,
that's why I'm
think anyone is surprised by that.
older if they are married.
Yeah. They take care of, everything around them. And I think that's a wonderful gift, that we get to have, to be nurturers, but to also be strong and to adapt even in our way of thinking. But I hope that nothing that I said scared people. So.
No, I think I was more scary than you. But it's just I'm diving so deep in this topic that it's, for me, it was just a small glimpse, yeah. And I've heard before, Dr. Adler said something really nice. Yael, what did you tell me? I'm
A sympathetic neurotic.
Yes. Yeah.
I like that. I've never heard that. That's good.
But I like it.
Me too.
I'm hypochondriac, so.
We have more questions. Sorry, but I want them to have the chance to ask. Of course. Yeah, Niels.
I would be interested to what kind of clothes you're wearing for sports, because I understand with the organic cotton and everything, but honestly, to go running now with my cotton sweaters again, I couldn't imagine, to be honest.
Well, I'm sure have you guys heard about some of the clothing issues that they've had with basically workout clothes?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know whether Germany.
No, please tell again. I'm not sure if I read it, but
some of the clothes, like even your spandex or your clothes that you buy at the popular brands, have basically so much toxins embedded, and there's certain chemicals that are inside that when you're running, they're causing basically testicular cancer, and they're causing issues with hormone health, as well as even they think things associated with ovarian cancer. So it's kind of a hot topic right now in the United States. We came out with a series of clothing, because basically what I do is we source the types of material. And of course, there's different things like hemp and organic cotton and silks that are better to work with. Linen's also really great for me to work with. We have different types of processes. We freeze the clothes. We boil the clothes. We use a 7-step system with the clothes. It's a long 96 hours. Some of the clothes take, depending on the fabric, 110 hours. It just depends. And we do have a full clothing line. Our issue has been when we launch things, we run out. So we're trying to do it even faster and quicker. Because we're in so many countries. So we do have sweatshirts and other things. But if you don't have the clothing that we have. There's a spray that you can put and embed into the clothes that you have that are not as good as the 96-hour process, but it does provide a protective shield against EMS and 5G and different things like that. We're going into more testing so that we can document that even more. But again, your cottons, your linens, and your silks, your hemps are really good to work with. And we do plan on coming out with a full line for men and women of everything as far as working out. But we have leggings and sweatshirts and t-shirts now.
So is there something I can do with what I already have?
Yes, you can use the Environ. We have an Environ spray. There's another company too. Not that I'm trying to promote other companies, but I think it's called Kodo or something like that, that does a protective clothing line. I don't know if they protect against EMFs and 5G, but they against heavy metals and things like that.
But does it protect against that what's already in it? Like, let's say I brought a name
You
brand.
have to, that's why our process is so long, because we're getting rid of any of the synthetics that are in it. Now, if you ask me where we do that, we do it in a clean room, because even while you're doing that, if you have not, and you have the best fabrics, you still have heavy metals in the air and around the clothing while you're going through the process. And I'll use another example. Our products we have, like vitamin C, and your vitamins hold on to heavy metals. So we have to actually detox the vitamins. So a lot of vitamins that you'll go buy at the store, if they don't know that, and you just have, let's say you have a company that doesn't care and they're just trying to produce things to make money, then there's heavy metals actually in the nutritional supplements, right? So
And pesticides.
And pesticides. Clothing's the same way. So you can't completely get rid of everything. And I'm banking on the adaptogenics that we have. Like, we're adapting, right? So we can take small amounts. So your goal would be do what you can, knowing that you aren't completely protected 100%. Because when we talk like sustainability, I was at Milan's Fashion Week and I went to the sustainability. I spoke at their conference. There's no way to be completely sustainable. Do you know what I mean? As much as we're trying, it's like you said, you're wearing this, I'm wearing these boots. I mean, there's just different things, but you try to do your best. And working out, you're sweating. So you're getting rid of toxins. The last thing you want to do is take those in. So it is really important, the clothing that you're wearing while you're working out. There are some brands, and I can share some of those brands later with everyone, that I do think have better, like your top line, some of the Wolford clothing, for example, is more protective because of what they do. It just depends on the type that you choose. There are some companies out there right now that have been heavily blasted because they found out that their clothing lines have a lot of toxins and they're impacting people in a negative way.
First of all, thank you. It's really inspiring to listening to you. It's just great, and I'm really inspired. But I have a question to you, Birgit. Once I've done the endospheresis, how often do I have to repeat it? I mean, the toxins are coming again, and
Of
more
course.
and more, as you said, both.
So at first we do 2 endospheresis with 1 day in between. Yeah, it's for really deep mobilization. The other endospheresis, the other appointments, it depends on the patient. Yeah. How is your genetic equipment? How are your diseases? I mean, if you take a look at the medical history, you already see the susceptibility of a patient. Yeah. You see how often he or she has to do endospheresis. Like once a year for someone who is healthy, I would say, just as a prevention. If someone has a disease, I would say twice a year. It also depends on how you are feeling. We have patients who feel that they need it again. Yeah. And they say, okay, now, 5 months, let's do it again. I think I need it. Yeah. It depends on so many points that I cannot really tell you in general. But for a healthy person, I would say once in a year is very good. Yeah. And once in a year, just 1. Yeah. It's just a 2 for the first.
Do we have more questions?
A lot of questions, but I want to speak in German. I want to ask you in German because they are very specific questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely have the chance to mingle after and talk some more. So if there's no more questions to both of our guests, then I would probably wrap it up here, as you already, I'm going to wrap it up properly. So first of all,
First of all, thank you very much for taking the time. I know this is a topic that we could talk a lot longer. And yes, it is inspiring. And I think even just realizing that we have to start looking into it, that we have to start advocating for ourselves and learn more and not trust that somebody else is going to take care of us. And I think that's one of the biggest learnings that we're all taken away anyways, is like we have to look into it and we have to understand like, how is my genetic setup? How am I, where are my risks? And so I really hope that this helps everyone to really be open to this topic, to look into it. I hope that no one leaves scared, and I don't think so, but energized in taking this on and making the best of it. Follow both of them, please, on Instagram. And thank you all for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.